Okay, and, oh, sorry, circle on that. Okay. Well, so junior year. So a few more months until the admissions process. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about selecting colleges, making your original college list. Why do I say original? Because this is probably not gonna be the last list. At this point, I want you to make a list of about 30 colleges, okay? You don't have to really be super selective. In fact, I want you to be very open, okay? Or if you think that this could be a possibility, put it on your list. 30 colleges is fine, even 35. More than 35, probably you're not doing as much research as you could, but for a first preliminary list of colleges, definitely 30 is okay. We're going to talk about choosing your major, majors, major and minor. What does that entail and what you really need and what you don't need to worry about. Developing winning essays. I'm going to have time only to share one specific system to develop great essays. And this is not only for college admissions. This is something I want you to use for the SAT and the ACT essays, okay? Even for school. This is a methodology that actually I, as a journalist, created, and it really works if you have it in your mind, so hopefully it will be easy. And then we're going to work on your junior agenda, what's coming up in the next few months and how the work is going to increase and what you need to expect. And feel free to interrupt me with questions, okay? If there's something that you don't know or don't understand, please just let me know. Okay, what you need to learn about a school. So you want to learn first and foremost if the school is accredited. And that is especially important for art schools and some programs that might not be specifically, the regular programs. There was once a student of mine for graduate school that went to a non-accredited school. She didn't know, and unfortunately, she was sent there. When she graduated, and she graduated with good grades, she wasn't able to get into any other college for graduate school or a university actually, and the reason why she was not able to do that is because the school wasn't accredited. So her bachelor's of arts degree from this school was not valid, okay? You don't want to spend 4 years in an institution to find that that happens, okay? So do things in order to make sure that your school is accredited. Transfer agreements. Same happens with a school that is, you don't have good accreditation, or it will not have transfer agreements with other schools. So just be careful, because you might think, oh, I'm going to a reputed school, and then it isn't, and then you're stuck somewhere bad, okay? And possibility to continue into graduate studies as well, okay? And what's most important is the fit with the student need. Just yesterday, my 12-year-old son asked me, oh, is such and such a good school? I had an appointment with that school. Said, it's a good school for some students. It's not a good school for every student. Even Harvard is not a good school for every student. You want to ensure that you choose the school because it's the right fit for you, because you're going to be successful there. I remember a student of mine from graduate school who went to University of Pennsylvania for undergrad, and he was almost expelled from University of Pennsylvania. He had a very bad situation where his grades went down. His father actually had surgery. It was a very difficult situation, and Penn didn't have the tools and the resources to help him out. It wasn't a good fit for him, and he ended up doing, he finished his education there, but it was very difficult, the whole process. You want to look for a school that can cater to your needs and interests, okay? And there are 4,000 schools in the United States. So there are a lot of options. I'm going to say, okay, out of the 4,000, maybe 200 that we're going to be able to consider. It's still a big number, okay? We don't have to be stuck with one specific school. All right. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to be very thorough in researching colleges. This is extremely important to find the fit and to find if you really can do well there. Going into the website of the school sometimes is just not enough. I mean, most of the times it's just not enough. If you go to MIT's website, you'll see that it's really dry. And if you're going to judge the school, MIT, by looking at the website, you're going to think, wow, this is a really boring school, when it really isn't. Actually, MIT is one of the most interesting schools in terms of their programs and how they make students do entrepreneurial projects. So this you will find in many, many schools, but the website is most of the times really not enough. There are college search engines, and I have actually a list of those on our website on Smartsheet. There's reference books, and this is my favorite book is that one there, the Fisk Guide to Colleges. Have actually a few copies there, so if you ever want to borrow it and come here and read it, but I really suggest for you to buy it immediately. It's $15 and it stays with you, and the type of descriptions that you have in that book are really useful for you to understand what happens in the school. Oh, it's a party school, or it's a serious school, or what type of environment you have there. Even you have even teacher, like professor comments, okay? The rankings. I do not agree with the rankings in terms of, who is number 1 and number 10 and number 50. That is really not important, but it is a good list of the colleges that are available to you. It's sort of a starting list. Okay, oh, I see this ranking. Oh, okay. Maybe I'm going to consider a few of these schools that I had never heard of, and we can talk about it, okay? So buy the U.S. News ranking, or you can go on my account. I think it's, I'm going to write it down for you guys. If you go on usnews.com, you can log in. The login is info@eduplan.us, and the password is EduPlan, or actually EduPlan 1. I don't remember which one, but it's either EduPlan or EduPlan 1. Okay?
What is the name of the page?
It's going to be usnews.com. Okay? You're going to go to usnews.com. You're going to select college rankings. Okay? And then you're going to, they're going to ask you, oh, do you have a login information? You want to take a picture? Anybody wants to take a picture? That account is available to you, and you don't have to pay anything, okay? So I already paid for it. I want to do a parenthesis real quick. Does everybody here have Smartsheet? Okay. Do you have the application on your phone? Yeah. Okay. So I want to give you a quick homework, okay? And maybe we'll do it when we do the activity that we have pending. If you can download the application on your phone, and I'm going to show you how to do a picture, take a picture, and leave it on Smartsheet, okay? It's very easy and very fun, okay? So, all right.
This one is.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Oof, I apologize. Okay. Then we have something else that can help us when we're looking for college information is, of course, the guidance counselor in your school, friends, people that have graduated, high school alumni that went to that school. They can really give you feedback. College alumni, people that you know maybe in your family or in your group of friends who went to that school. But definitely, this is the time for you guys to, and of course, admissions counselors. So it's the time for you guys to think of, okay, I need to find information on this. This is a very important part of your life, and it's 4 years of your life that will make it or break it for you. And I know it will make it for you, okay? But you have to research. This is the most important decision you have ever made, okay, until now. And you want to make it with the right information. And college visits. We're going to talk a little bit about college visits afterwards, when you need to get started with that, and what dynamics you can have, and what are the time frames, and what you need to visit, okay? But these are definitely some of the opportunities you have to research colleges. Any questions? Of course, college fairs as well. We'll talk about that in the next slides. Okay, so you want to look for colleges that will give you an edge and that will make you you know, happy in a way and in a way adapted, okay? But at the same time, you don't want to, you know, go so far from your comfort zone that you're going to feel uncomfortable or that you're doing something because, oh, yeah, for example, my father wants me to go to Harvard, but I'm really not I mean, after researching, I find that really the personality at Harvard of the students is really not gonna mesh with mine. And you know, after really researching, I find that the programs at Harvard don't meet my needs. Okay, so follow your heart, and if you did the research in full, follow your heart and have the reasons why you don't mesh with that school. You want to go to school where you're gonna feel good. There was I remember a counselor, a peer of mine that went to Princeton, and she said she was miserable there because it was not the type of environment for her. If she could have been somewhere else, you know, where she would have been happier, but she went there because of the name she got in, and so she thought, okay, it's Princeton, I have to go in. No, and you really don't. I have a student actually who got into Yale and Princeton. Princeton gave her a $30,000 scholarship. Yale gave her zero. She ended up going to Yale because after going to visit both schools, she saw that Yale was a better fit for her in the end, and it was the place where she would feel great. And it didn't matter that she had a scholarship. This was the best choice, and now she's going into law school. So, you know, all turned out well because she followed her gut. Assess your preferences. Just make a list or a mind map of the traits you would like to see offered by the colleges where you would consider yourself to be happy. And this is what we're going to do with that exercise. We're definitely going to take a look at some of the traits that you need to look into for college admissions, okay? When you look for colleges. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the different traits. And if you have any questions, if anything is not 100% clear, let me know. So the first trait is public versus private. You have private colleges and universities, and you have public colleges and universities. Do you guys know what the difference is?
Price.
Okay, price. Very good. Okay, great. What else? Very good. Your parents are going to be happy. Something. That's it. What else?
Funded by the state.
Exactly. So what does that mean, Andres?
The government pays for the public, and the private is based on tuition.
Exactly. And based on like endowment funds. You guys know what an endowment fund is? Okay, an endowment fund is a fund like that is traded in Wall Street in the stock market, and that is gonna be an amount of money like a bank account that the college has from alumni donations. Okay, so Harvard has an endowment fund of billions of dollars. Okay, and what it means is, okay, let's say that they invested $100 million. Okay, they invested it on the stock market, and that grew every year by, let's say, 10%. Okay, and so they're getting 110 next year, and it goes up and up and up, and with more donations and more money, you know, the school grows and has the funding to support scholarships, to get new buildings. You know, Mayor Bloomberg in New York, he graduated from Johns Hopkins University, and he said that Johns Hopkins really changed his life. And so he donated $100 million there. I mean, several times he had donated a lot of money, and the last donation I think was like $100 million. And so with this money, this gets invested and grows, and they do scholarships, and they have a million buildings there under his name. And so an endowment fund will support actually the funding of a school. And believe it or not, sometimes tuition is not enough. So the endowment fund is very important. This is something that we're going to talk about later because this will mean scholarships for you. Okay? Schools that have a large endowment fund can give you a lot of scholarship money. Okay? Or more than others that don't. Okay, so private versus public, this is something that we want to know because if you guys are going to stay in Florida, you're going to go to a public school unless you go to University of Miami or a private school, but you're going to get a cut in definitely in terms of money. The downside about it is that because it's funded by the state, if the economy is at a debacle and things are not doing so well, the universities will probably suffer for it. So you need to be aware of that just in case, because it can fluctuate how good a college is, a public college is or not, depending on that. Okay. One more thing. There are some agreements between public universities and colleges. So, for example, a student coming to, let's say, that is interested in applying to University of Florida and Pennsylvania State University, Penn State, okay, not University of Pennsylvania, the Ivy League, but Penn State University, which is a really great school as well. Let's say that they get into Penn State, they don't get into University of Florida. Penn State has a reciprocity agreement with University of Florida, and they might take your Florida Bright Futures or the Florida, well, I'm sorry, the Florida prepaid plan. Did you hear?
Yeah.
Sure. So the idea is that if you go to Penn State, they might take your Florida prepaid plan, and then you'll pay a lower tuition at Penn State because of that reciprocity agreement. Georgia Tech has an agreement with some universities, for example, in Virginia, where you have, if there's like a major that they don't offer at your college in Virginia, then they will accept it at Georgia Tech, accept you with the tuition of a Georgia student, which is great. So you have to research this, and I have some pages where we can research it depending on your major. Okay? Any questions? All right. All right, total size of college and or program. So we have colleges like New College of Florida, which is in Sarasota, and it's beautiful, and it's actually a public college and one of the top 5 in the entire United States of the public colleges, liberal arts college, and it's 1,000 students. So it's really, really small, but it's really selective. They have 1 million like Fulbright scholars there. It's a really great school to apply to and to get in and to attend, but it is very, very small, okay? And you have Arizona State University, which is going to be 65,000 students. And actually, UCF is not that far. UCF is the second largest university in the entire United States. And this is one that you're probably all going to apply as a safety. So it is a really good school as well, but it's going to be about 65,000 students. Then you have, how many students does, let's say, Boston University have? You guys know?
10,000.
Around that area, around that. What about Pratt? Okay. It's about that. It's like a mid-sized college, a little bit less actually, maybe 6,000 or so. Okay, so you'll have a lot of schools that are going to go, let's say, from 6,000 all the way to 20,000. Drexel University is maybe like 18,000. That's not a really good school. So you'll have a lot of colleges in that range, and then you'll have the very big colleges like University of Michigan and Ohio State University and all those public schools, and then this very small liberal arts colleges, which are going to be dedicated to the liberal arts. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Try to assess whether you're looking for a really large community or a smaller, close-knit community from your previous academic experience. So if you went to a school that was small and you like that environment, okay, let's look for schools that are smaller. If you went to a school that is large and you know that you navigate well in that type of environment, don't look for schools that are smaller because you're going to get tired of it very quickly. Okay, so, but, since we have a lot in the mid-range, that's also important to know. A large school is more likely to have more student organization, activities, majors, and more classes. So if you are the type of student that is not ready to say, okay, I want to major in this, you want to have maybe a bit of a larger environment so that you have more major options. A smaller school offers a more intimate environment, more personalized attention, and more direct access to your professors, among other benefits. However, that personalized attention with the faculty is also available at larger schools, and there's actually a ranking of schools that are big and that have that personalized attention. One of them, one of my favorites, is Indiana University. It's very, it's like about 20,000 students, but it's still very personalized. So interesting things to consider, okay? Which type of school would enable you to perform your best in every aspect of college? Academic, social, personal, and professional future. And that's what you need to think about when you think of total size of college or program, okay? No, not, oh, I want to be involved with 1,000,000 people. No, it's which one will help you perform the best academically and socially and in every aspect. Any questions? Okay, the cost of attending, for some of us it's important, for others it's not as important, but it's still always an issue. Usually, public schools are gonna be around, like in the state, are gonna be around $20,000 per year with everything included, like tuition, room and board, everything. If you go to, for example, University of Florida, it's gonna be about $20,000 a year. With other schools like NYU, which is extremely expensive, it's about 65 to 70,000. And then you have to think about, okay, do they give scholarships? How large is their endowment? Because you might not want to pay the $65,000 to go to a school when you have another good option for $20,000. Okay. Okay. The amount of financial aid. We have two different ways of getting money for college. One is for need, and the other one is for merit. Okay, those are like the big categories. So you have the need-based money, which is you send your tax returns, and the school says, okay, they need so much money to come here. Do we give them the money or not? And then the other one is, okay, we want this student because they are a great student, or they're an athlete, or they're an artist, or we want this student, and they have diversity, so they're a good addition to our group, so we're gonna give them a scholarship, but that doesn't have to do anything with need, okay? So these are two considerations you wanna make, and we're gonna talk about in our workshop, paper. Okay, when assessing costs, do not only look at the sticker price, but also look at the possibility for the college to provide you with a financial aid package. There's a school that is in Massachusetts called WPI, Worcester Polytechnic Institute, and it's actually a very good school for engineering and the sciences, and they are very expensive. They're about $60,000 a year, but they give a lot of financial aid. So you can get a really good scholarship there, maybe a $20,000, $30,000 scholarship. So that's a good school to apply to if you can, all right? And that's the type of things you have to think about. All right. Geographic locations. So, okay, for example, Ilya, where do you wanna, have you thought about where you wanna go to college, in what area of the United States?
I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah, just,
Yeah, what about you, Addie?
I don't know.
You don't know, okay. And you, Marianne?
In New York or Boston?
Okay, okay. What about you, Jan?
Here.
Here in Florida? Okay. Andres?
DC,
DC, okay. And Bernardo?
like the West Coast.
The West Coast, oh my God, okay, your mom's gonna. Okay. Okay, so there you have it. Many of us have dreams of where to go and where we want to go. Some of us are really open. I actually had a student today who said that he's actually from Venezuela and he's doing graduate studies application, graduate school applications, and he was talking to me about University of Washington University. University of Washington, which is in Seattle. So I was telling him, okay, this is the United States, let's say, okay, this is Venezuela, this is you, and this is your family. Okay, do you want this for yourself? And these are the type of considerations you want to make. I mean, actually, he ends up saying, yeah, I want to go there because, he actually has families, yeah. So that makes things a little bit easier. Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué tal? Hola. Ven adelante. Okay, so the idea is for you to start thinking about what is important to you, what is not, what are the considerations regarding geographic location. Do you ever want to be able to come back home for, Thanksgiving dinner, or, when you have a small trip, something happens, if you're too far away, maybe that's a consideration to to make, okay? On the other hand, if you're really interested in California, for example, well, we gotta try, right? So, okay. Location will play a factor in your tuition cost as well, because every time you have to come back home, it will cost you, okay? So you wanna make sure that that goes into effect. If that's not a problem for you, great, but you have to consider that. All right. Something else, I had a student once that said, I don't want to go anywhere cold. Oh my God. Okay, how do we do this? Because we have to like draw a line. Texas, Georgia, California, Arizona. Okay, not a lot of options. But if she was gonna be miserable in the winter, that's something you need to be very, very true to yourself. What are your real important traits that you're looking for in a school? Okay, rural, urban, and suburban. I remember this summer I went to Massachusetts and I was looking into colleges, and I remember going through a college and seeing cows. And I was like, okay, where's the college? I was with my car and I just didn't see it until they had stables, and that was like the entrance of the college was cows and stables, and some people are so happy in that environment. I'd probably kill myself, but the thing is that you gotta know if you want that or you want the bustling city. Okay, there is something sexy about going into a city, but you have to know also that going into a college that is within a city, except maybe for Boston, will mean that you're gonna have a lot of life out of the city, and that has implications. And usually, it's a great thing, but you wanna think of all these things. These are things that you cannot ignore. And then you have the campuses that are in small towns like Gainesville, Ann Arbor. For example, University of Massachusetts is at Amherst, okay, and which is a really nice college town. So there are mid-sized like places where you can go, and then there's a lot of college life. So you want to be true to yourself and think, okay, this is where I'm gonna do best, okay? Okay. Student-faculty ratio. So do you mind studying in a classroom with 200 other students? Will you do fine in that environment? Or do you want to study with a class of 20 students? There you are. Maria knows exactly what she wants. And there are some schools where you have the largest class is going to be 60. So you want to see those ratios, and if you decide to go to a class of 200 students, a place where there are a lot of classes of 200 students, like for example, University of Florida, you want to have a support system. You want to have tutors. You want to be involved with the teacher assistants. You're not going to have access to the teacher or the professor, but you're going to have a lot of support in other places, okay? Also, something great about school where there's personalized attention is that you really connect with the professors, and that really helps you for graduate school, because you're going to need letters of recommendation and other things for grad school, that when you have even an internship, a professor can get you an internship. So having that one-on-one close relationship with a professor is really valuable, and you can have that in New College of Florida, and also at University of Florida, and also at Penn State University, okay? Big schools as well. Okay. Cultural diversity. I mean, you're all from somewhere else. So what would you like for your college education? You want a place where you're going to be different from everybody else? You want a place where you're going to have some people like you, or you want a place where everybody's going to be like you? You have to think about that. In regards to your personality, where you'll fit better, how do you feel better? Like, do you need a huge group that everybody's like you, or are you okay being, one in a few or one in a million? Okay, it does happen when you go to a place where you're one in a million. What happens is you get a lot of scholarship money because they want you. For example, all of you guys could apply to University of Wisconsin-Madison. Okay. There are some Latinos, but there are not a lot of Latin Americans, for example, okay? And Russians, imagine. And so the thing is that a Russian from, South Florida. So you have a lot of diversity for that school. That's actually a really great school, but you're not gonna have a lot of Venezuelans, Colombians, Ecuadorians, you're not gonna have a crowd that is large like you, okay? So are you okay there? Or will you feel very alone and not being able to connect with anybody else? That's what you need to, question yourself about. Okay, usually nowadays it's important to have diversity because that's how the workforce is created, with diverse people interacting in different multidimensional, multicultural groups, okay? So that experience in itself is something you want to look for in college. Okay, accreditation, we talked about this already, how important it is for you to seek accreditation or schools that are 100% accredited, and that you can ask me about. If you're not, in doubt with the school, if it's accredited or not, let me know. I will never send you to a non-accredited school, that I will tell you. Okay, alumni network. That's something that you guys might not think about, but when you're looking for jobs, you want a strong alumni network to have support on. Oh, yeah, ¿qué tal? Adelante. Okay, so you want a very strong alumni network that will help you find jobs later on. I have a student right now at Northwestern University, and he is doing well with the career exploration and career search, but he's getting a lot of resources and a lot of help from the alumni network because the career center there is not helping him out as much because he's international. So at this point, he's engaging the alumni network and trying to find people within Northwestern that graduated from Northwestern that are now able to find him a job in their companies. Okay, so it's really valuable to have a strong alumni network. Work opportunities and social opportunities as well. Religious versus secular. You guys have to know, okay, are you interested in going to a Catholic school or a Jewish school? I mean, is this something important to you, or is it the same? There are rankings for both, for all religions actually, and if this is something important for you, you want to have that consideration as well. Many people don't mind, but it's something to think about. Campus athletics, activities, and events. You want to be able to do the sports that you love to do during high school. And if you don't, at least do something similar. Like, for example, Andres, I know you're very strong in water polo. So maybe look for schools where they have at least club water polo. But if they don't, okay, they'll have swimming or something else or something that you enjoy. But you don't want to go to school where, okay, the activities and all that they offer is really doesn't really match your interests or needs. Something very important to know is that there are some schools that are going to be 24/7 live, okay? And there are some schools that are going to be commuter schools. What does that mean? Does anybody know what a commuter school is? Can you tell me if, for example, FIU is a commuter school or is a 24/7 school? Commuter. Why? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, no one sleeps there, I guess.
Sorry, there, you got it. They do have actually a few dorms in the Modesto Mairique campus, which is down below South, but nobody stays there. And out of you guys, nobody would. I mean, you would probably commute to the school every day and come back home to live at home. So yeah, that you got it. So University of Miami is a little bit like that as well, although they have a residential, housing and it's very big there. Most students that are from South Florida don't stay there. So then if you go, for example, to Penn State University, you'll definitely have to move abroad. And most of the students that live in Pennsylvania that would go to Penn State would also have to live there because probably their families are from Philadelphia, Harrisburg, other areas in Pennsylvania, right? So same happens with University of Florida. All of you guys would have to move to University of Florida to Gainesville in order to live there. So that's a 24/7 campus. Can you guys tell me advantages of that?
More access to school.
Yeah, there you go. What else, Bernardo? What is an advantage of living in Gainesville and going to University of Florida, for example?
Many people.
Many people. What else? In terms of commuting or living there.
Mhm.
Okay, you go to the football games, for example. I mean, what do you do during the weekends? You go to football games, huh? During the weekend, you have to have a life there because there's nothing else to do. Okay, so either you come to visit your parents in Miami, or you stay there and you go to clubs and do, your social scene is gonna be in Gainesville. So the good thing is that because it's in Gainesville where there's nothing happening except University of Florida, you're gonna do all the things you would want to do with your friends. Okay, whereas if you are in your house, well, it's a little bit different to coordinate all the plans. So you want to know, okay, this is what a commuter school offers, and this is what a school that I'm living 24/7 offers. I remember my brother, he went to University of Miami, and he ended up hating the fact that because he was living there, we were actually not here at the time, and he said, oh, I hate that the library closes at 12 in the night. I mean, he was a nerd, definitely, and he wanted to stay in the library until, all night long if he wanted, and he couldn't, okay, because it's more of a residential school that, not as residential, it's a bit commuter, and life there, shut down around 12. So, you need to know these things in order to see if it's a good fit for you. Okay, you have concert series. I remember at University of Michigan, I bought every year the season tickets for the concerts and the art fairs and all that. And it was a lot of fun. It was very inexpensive because it was sponsored for students, okay? Okay, so also something that we want to talk about is fraternities. Many of you will end up being maybe in a fraternity. And so some schools have a big percentage of fraternities, and some schools don't. So if you're interested in Greek life, you want to find out if they have a large percentage of campus in a fraternity. And if you're not interested, you also want to find out because you want to be one of the 20% that is not in a frat. At the same time, you want to make sure that the frats is the type of life you want for yourself. I mean, nowadays, the frats are more community service oriented. They're not as much about partying, supposedly, but it's more of a network and it's more of a lifestyle where you go in and live in a house with your brothers or sisters, and it's networking, okay? The people that graduate from the fraternity end up being mentors for you in terms of careers and all that. But if you're not that type of person that is going to enjoy that type of environment, you want to make sure that the place that you go to is not intensive in terms of fraternity life. Any questions? Huh? Okay. Special programs. There are some amazing, amazing programs that some schools offer and some schools don't. You want to know which schools offer what programs. For example, one of the schools that is probably one of the favorites among my students is Brandeis University. Brandeis University doesn't offer engineering. However, they have an amazing program with Columbia University where you spend 3 years at Brandeis and then 2 years at Columbia, and you finish 2 degrees in the 5 years. It's more expensive because you're doing 5 years of college, but it's a really great option. So just like, Columbia and Brandeis, you have many other schools that have special programs that might be interesting for you in your area. Others, for example, when you want to do a master's and a bachelor's, you do 1 year more and you get a master's degree. I don't recommend that as much, but it's a good option for some students. Double majors, dual enrollment. For example, FIU has dual enrollment, as you know. Study abroad programs. Have we talked ever, have you heard of Semester at Sea? Yeah? Okay, Bernardo, what is it about?
Like you go on a boat, and you just do school on a boat, and you go around the world.
That's right. It's a cruise, okay? And you go on a cruise for 4 months, and you go all over the world. They stop in every continent. And while you're at sea, you're studying with professors and faculty and with students from all over the United States, from University of Virginia, and it's actually sponsored by University of Virginia, but University of Florida has it, Yeshiva University has it, UCF has it, many schools offer it, okay? It's a consortium. And so you're in the boat, you're studying, and then you land you are in a port, and then you go visit the places that you studied about. So it's a really cool program. And I have actually a colleague, a friend, that did this program, and she had a network forever, of people from all over the world. So lots of fun. Honors program, most of the schools that you're going to apply to will have an honors program. And you can apply to it while you're doing the application process. So one good thing about finishing the application process early is that you might be able to also apply to the honors program, okay? And independent study, acceleration. These are opportunities that through the special programs you could get. And if you don't remember this, I'm gonna send you the presentation and everything later on so that you can review it. Okay, the type of community, well, we talked about commuter schools, competitive cutthroat schools, and collaborative communities. You have communities that are very team-oriented, where everybody's working together, and you have communities that are more, yourself, involved in your work, and you have to know what type of personality and what type of community you're going to do better at. It's not, neither is better, it's simply a choice, okay? And you can find this information on the FISC, like we were talking about. So that's why that book is so important. Okay, the rankings, we talked about this. And there are a million different rankings, okay? The U.S. News is just one of them. So that's why I don't want you to see it as your Bible and say, oh, this year University of Florida is 49 and University of Miami is 40, so University of Miami is better. No, please. Don't think that way, because it's not true. It's what's better for you guys, okay? Always the question is, which school will have the better fit for you? And there are very different schools, so you cannot choose them because the ranking for one is better than the other, and this changes every year. And the rankings, what is the purpose of the rankings? Can somebody tell me? Marketing. It is to make money for U.S. News. Okay, that's really the reason, to sell magazines. Okay, they're actually doing poorly, U.S. News as a company, and they ended up having to do the rankings so that they could recover. This was like about 30 years ago. So let me tell you the side story about how the rankings started. Okay, all right. Okay, majors and requirements, colors of study. If you already know what you will major in, then you should look for schools that not only offer your program, but will help you succeed while studying there. Many of you don't know what you want to major in, others you do know. So this is a major consideration, because you want to make sure that your school has the options for you to study there. Some schools will require you to take various classes in a wide range of areas, while other schools allow students to move quickly into your chosen major with few requirements. So this is something that we also want to know about. And if the school doesn't offer what you're looking for, then the school shouldn't be a place for you to consider. I mean, if you're looking for industrial design and the school really doesn't offer anything that has to do with that, you don't want to go to that school, okay? It's already discarded. Okay, so how do we narrow down the options? Once we have an idea of our preferences, we're going to start matching schools to our personal interests. So we need to first know what are our preferences, what we're looking for in colleges, and then we can start researching. It's not the other way around. We start reading and then we see, oh, what are our preferences? If you're involved in extracurricular activities you would like to pursue after graduation, make sure the schools you're looking for offer these opportunities. Most of the schools do have a lot of extracurricular activities, but you want to make sure to read about them, okay? Some schools are very small, and if you're looking for a small environment, this is important. Okay, so this girl, she picked Harvard because it's a school that everyone in the entire world knows about, and this was important for her, okay? I know some students that pick others instead of Harvard because they're a better match in other sense, okay? Harvard is so elite that only 1% of the best high school seniors dare to apply, which is about 30,000 applicants. And out of that number, about 1,700 will attend, less than 6%. I'm showing you this statistic just to explain to you something very important about choosing a school, and it is selectivity. So when we choose schools, we don't want to choose all schools where the admissions rate is going to be 6%. Why? Can anybody tell me?
Because if you don't get in, then that's a problem.
Exactly. If you apply to all schools that have a 6% selectivity rate, it's, you have very little chance to get in. And we hear these horror stories about these, for example, the valedictorian of a class applying to all 8 Ivy League schools. The Ivy League schools are 8 schools. Do you guys know what the Ivy League schools are? Okay, tell me. Uh-huh. No.
Brown, Harvard, Columbia, Princeton, Dartmouth.
Yale,
Columbia.
University of Pennsylvania, and
You see that?
no, that's actually a public Ivy. It's called a public Ivy, which is public schools that are very, very good, and actually University of Florida is one of them.
Princeton.
And Princeton, that's right. Oh, you got it. Okay, so Dartmouth and Harvard, very different schools. Dartmouth is in the middle of nowhere. It's very environmental oriented. Like people like to go skiing in the weekends, and it's very close knit community. I'm not saying Harvard isn't, but then again, Harvard is more city oriented, and the programs are a little bit different. There's no engineering at Harvard. I'm sorry, yeah, there is engineering now, but it's very different from Dartmouth in many ways. And for somebody to apply to all 8 Ivy League schools means that they didn't do their research well, because they can't fit in all 8. They're so different. What personality are you? Do you want a liberal arts education like Brown? Or do you want, the Princeton science orientation? What are you looking for? So it's very important for you to first know what you're looking for, and not think of, okay, I want to apply to all the top schools in the list, and that's when the US ranking is not our friend, okay? All right. So the selectivity is very important. We want to apply to some schools that are going to have a high selectivity for us, and some that are going to be mid selectivity, which we call double-rich schools, are the highest selectivity. Schools where it's very, very hard for us to get into. Okay, we could have up to 4. Then we could have 3 rich schools. Schools where you know that you have some chance. It's not impossible to get in, but it's not super likely that you're going to get in. Then 3 possible schools that you have a better chance to get in, and then 3 that are highly possible, that are what we call safeties, okay? So a safety for many of you might be FIU, okay? Okay, it's not our top choice, definitely, but it's a school that is in the area, and that it's not impossible to get into. The selectivity is not that high. It might be a fit, it might not be a fit. You have to see that, because out of all this list, they all need to be a fit. If you're applying to school where you say, okay, I'm going to apply there, but I'm never going to go there. Okay, then don't do it. You're wasting your parents' money, right? You want to apply only to schools where you really are considering going. Otherwise, I'd rather you not have this many schools. We now apply to 10 to 16 schools. Why? You saw the common application. It's very easy to apply to many schools, and it gets your chances to get into a good school higher. So we want to apply to as many schools as we can, okay? And 10 to 16 is a good number. We don't know. The admissions process is very unpredictable. It changes from year to year. Like, for example, I remember this Stevens Institute of Technology. This is a really, really good school in New York, actually New Jersey. And last year, they had a very low admissions rate out of the blue. Suddenly, they had a low admissions rate. What happened? They had a lot more students applying. They became more selective, and we didn't know about it. So, some of our students got in, others didn't. They had other safeties, so they ended up getting into some safety and some rich schools, but they had options, okay? And that's why we applied to a good number of schools. Review your statistics. Not this second, but I want you to be aware of the GPA that you need to get into a college, the SAT that you need to get into a college, and the type of courses you need. Because if a school, for example, Indiana University wants to see you completing pre-calculus by your senior year. So if for any reason you're not taking pre-calc by your senior year, you'll have a low chance to get into Indiana. And if you do get in, you're gonna have to take pre-calc in your summer of your senior year after graduating, okay? This is gonna be a requisite for getting into Indiana. So you wanna know these things early, but at this moment you have no idea what you're gonna get on your SAT, right? So as soon as you get your SAT, your first SAT, think of this. Usually from the first SAT or ACT to the last SAT that you're gonna take, you're probably gonna go up by at the most 200 points, 200 to 300 points, very, very, very most. I mean, usually it's 200 points. So if you're right now, you took the SAT and you got a, let's say, 1800, you know that there's a highly likely chance that you're not going to get above 2000, okay? With the ACT, it's about 4 points, okay? So usually they say, this is what the statistics say, that, you know, all the students in the curve, most of them, let's say 80% of the students, don't go above the 200 points or the 4 points for the ACT. So what's the chance that you're gonna get to 300? So at that point you say, okay, let me take a look at the schools, what they ask for, and then make a decision on which ones are gonna be my double reach, my possible, and my highly possible, okay? All right. And then you can create a portfolio of colleges where you have some with high risk and some with low risk to get it. Any questions? Okay, when it's all said and done, you want to feel that the school you have chosen to attend is the right school for you. Again, that's the focus. Taking the time to visit a school and learn about it can help solidify how you feel about attending. So we want to start visiting schools. When are we starting to visit schools? Anybody tell me?
Junior year.
Yes. When at the junior year?
The summer.
The summer, could be in the summer.
Spring.
It could be actually right now, because what happens is, for example, University of Miami is right next door to us. So maybe take one of these days when you don't have school and go tour it. Now, I will give you some advice, and this is only for you guys, okay? I want you to, when you go to a school, any school, I want you to try to connect with an admissions officer while you're there. Maybe even before time, you can ask for a meeting with an admissions officer. You want to bring them your resume, okay? Take the opportunity. If you're already visiting, connect with somebody, get a card, send them a thank you note after the visit, okay? This is kept on a record. And when you send your application in next year, you will have some points to your favor. Not all schools have those points, and not all schools will keep your record as well as others, but you can always say, when I met with so-and-so, they, talked to me about this and that, which I loved about the school, and, that's why I'm applying. And they will ask you, why are you applying? Why University of Miami? Why Duke? Why? Many schools ask for those essays, okay? So you want to have good arguments that demonstrate your interest in getting in, okay? All of you are gonna have your resumes very soon ready, updated, so you could go anytime in the next semester when you have a day off and you want to take, a trip to the colleges. Why is it so important to go visit colleges?
To get an idea of how not only how the school is, but what the college life is in there.
Exactly. You get a feel. Okay, University of Miami is a mid-sized school, small to mid-size. I think it's about 8,000 students or so, or 10,000, around that. And so, okay, this is what a 10,000 school, student school feels like. Do I like it? It's sort of commuter for me. Okay, do I like what they're offering in terms of majors? Okay, this is what we're looking for. All right? Okay, let's do the activity. So does everybody have a copy of the papers? Does anybody need a pen? Okay. Okay. And if you need a desk, I mean, you can definitely go there. Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. Okay. So the idea is for you guys to see the different categories that we talked about. And now I want you to go to the second page. And in the second page, I want you to rank how important some of the categories are for you and how important they're not. Like, let's say if they're not important, you want to put an X on it, okay? On the not important. What does it mean that it's not important? Let's talk about that. Okay. So, when you see academic programs majors available, if, for example, for you, it's important for them to have political science as a major because you're going to study that and you know that, then you put it as important. If, for example, you're going to study economics, and you know in all colleges they offer economics, then maybe it's not as important for you. If you don't know what your major is, and you need a lot of major options, it's important for you. Okay? Okay.
How many things can
okay. You can have around, oh, wait a minute, Fernando. Okay, you should have around 4 or 5 in each one. Okay? So let's say that you have the most important, less important, not important. You want to try to rank them in groups of 5 at the most of each importance. Okay? All right. Puedes cachar algunas de esas y ponerlas en import. Okay, do you have any questions? Do you have any questions about any categories that we, you know? I have a question.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. Ya yo estoy graduada con Andrea. Cualquier cosa le pregunto a Andrea. Ahí está mi hermana. Qué cómico. Me voy.
Okay.
Ya salí de la casa a buscarme. Chao.
Chao, viaje. Pásenlo rico. Bye.
Vaya, háganme cuidado. No maneja de ningún lado.
¿Terminaste?
¿Terminaste?
Qué bueno. Ok.
Retira.
Chao, chicos.
Tengo que manejar cuidado.
Sí, lo hablamos.
Okay, amazing. Okay.
A las 5:40 me
No pressure, okay? Now, what I want you guys to do at home is go to the next page. So now that you have about 5 in each category, I want you to see each category and rank in each category which one would be the most important and put it like a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? In each category. This you'll do at home, okay? And then you're gonna put them in order of the most important to least important in that page, okay? And I want you to say to me on the comments area, Say even to yourselves why it's so important. For example, if you put majors as okay, the number one of importance, say okay because I want to study something very specific, industrial engineering, so industrial design. So I want this specifically, and it's not going to be available everywhere. So this is something that I really want to consider. Right? All right. Okay. Stand up 1 second. Everybody. Okay, let's do a little exercise that I do always. Okay, repeat after me. I feel good. Come on. I feel fine.
I feel fine.
Okay, great. Sit down. Okay, are you energized? Okay, very good. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so let's talk quickly about majors. Okay. So the good news, guys, is that most students change their majors and often. 9 out of 10 people change careers in the course of their lifetime. Okay, just one will start as I want to become a doctor and will end up being a doctor. Okay, the rest of us will change careers and maybe not once, but it's okay after you say it. Yeah, many change. Okay, so that's okay. And actually, for many of us, it's great to start, like for example, with industrial engineering, and then go into a master's in business and combine those two. I'm actually, you guys know what my career is?
Journalist.
No, I'm a journalist.
Comunicación social.
Communications with a specialization in journalism. So I'm a journalist.
And then an MBA.
And then a master's in business with a concentration in marketing and international business. And then today I'm a college counselor in education. And I'm going to tell you a funny story. I told my parents I wanted to go into education. And they said, you're never going to make money with that. Okay, so I'll study communications. And I did love communications, but, it's about combining degrees and combining your different life skills. That makes you go into a niche and really enjoy what you're doing, okay? And the quest is for you guys to find a career, a major, an area that you feel passionate about and that you're good at. Because one thing is, okay, I want to be an artist, but I can't paint two straight lines, okay? So, my abilities are not there. So what am I doing as an artist, right? So you want to find those majors that are going to motivate you to do great and to work like it doesn't feel like work, okay? Universities in the US typically give you 2 years to explore. So what are those 2 years called? They are called the general education requirements. That's the freshman and the sophomore year in college. You're going to take courses called the Gen Ed requirements, okay? General education requirements. What is that? That is math, language arts, sciences, okay, social studies. Now, if you're going to study political science, okay, or pre-law, you're going to have to take the toughest courses in philosophy, in language arts, in U.S. history and world history, okay? But you're not going to have to take the toughest courses in math. So you're going to take math for liberal arts students. You're not going to take calculus 1, or you might not want to take it, okay? If you're going to study engineering, your general education requirements might not have the most advanced philosophy course, right? But it will have calculus, applied mathematics, discrete mathematics, perhaps with chemistry and physics. Now, I'll tell you something. I have a student from 3 years ago who he always said he wanted to study environmental engineering. And he went to this amazing college called Case Western Reserve. It's top 40 college in the United States. It's a really great school for environmental engineering. And started taking physics. He was flunking. He was doing so poorly. So what did he do? What could he do? So next semester, he stopped taking those physics and chemistry courses and started taking courses more geared to environmental sciences. Okay, so he changed his major from engineering to science. Why? He wasn't doing well at it. It was not a career. So what he thought it was going to be his original career, he ended up changing it a little bit as he saw that he wasn't able to take physics and chemistry at college level. Okay? So that happens and that's okay. But what you need to do is do something like he did. Change your course on time, because I have another student who actually did a couple of years insisting on engineering when he was not meant for engineering and he should have done business management, which is his original plan. It's just he got sidetracked and he decided to do engineering, and he was getting D's and F's in engineering. He kept insisting, and at some point he was not able to transfer from the College of Engineering to the business school because he didn't have the GPA. So you want to make these decisions early when you get to college, but you can make these decisions, and that's the beauty about the college education in the United States. You can change majors many times. Okay, through this process you can determine what works and what doesn't with the general education requirements. Find something that you love to do and are skilled at, so that you can you're allowed to reach amazing success, and you don't need to figure it out right this second, okay? We can apply to colleges without declaring a major, okay? Listen to me, this is very important. This will not hurt you. You have still, how many years do you guys think that you have until you need to make your major decision?
After your second year.
2? How many?
After your second year.
After your second year, that's right. Andres is right. After your second, at the end of your second year of college, you need to declare a major. How many years is that? 3.5. 3.5 years until you have to make a choice. However, okay, we do need to make some choices. So let's talk about the choices we need to make. Okay, first of all, we can't go to a school and we will have to do some, to say some things to the schools when we apply. And we can't go to school and say, I have no idea what I want to study, because it looks like you didn't do your homework, okay? So that's a no-no. So what we want to do is we want to start looking into career goals. What do we feel comfortable with? What do we like? What type of industries we enjoy, okay? And we have lots of resources to help us determine the sort of careers that we may like. So let's talk about those resources. Okay, the first, and this I want you to, you'll have this recording, but I want you to think about this. This is very important because it's something you're going to need to do very soon if you want to write it down or whatever. This is very important. The first step to looking into career options and major options is introspective research. You want to ask yourself tough questions. What are tough questions? What do I like? What do I dislike? What am I good at? Be honest with yourself. Am I good with numbers? Am I bad with numbers? Okay? Ask yourself those hard questions. Then, external research. You want to ask professionals in your area, in those areas of interest, what their careers are like. Okay? So, you want to be a doctor. Ask a doctor what it is like to be a doctor. Okay? An engineer. Ask. Read about careers online. Start researching a little bit. There are rankings about careers, so you want to take a good look into it, okay? And do internships. Now, parents always ask me, oh, do you do career assessments? I have a couple of career assessments I'm going to give you, but my best career assessment for you guys is direct experience, okay? There's nothing better than experiencing for yourself what you're thinking of doing. Andres, you're a great example. Andres was thinking of political science, if I may say. And we said, okay, let's do an internship. And he found a great internship with, well, was a congressman, right?
Yeah.
And he enjoyed it so much. And so that's the way to know, okay, this is something I enjoy doing that I could be successful at, okay? On the other hand, I remember a mom, this was like 5 years ago, okay, that came to me frantic. Oh, my son wants to study music. He wants to be a rock star. That's what he wants to be. And so he sees himself on a stage, and that's, that's what he wants from his life. And he has no talent. Okay? Because, okay, if he would have talent, all right, but he had no talent. Okay, we played a little bit, but that was it, okay? And said, okay, you know what, I'll talk with him and let's see what happens. And so I said to him, you want to be in music? Okay, let's get you into a music business, and into a music company, get you an internship and see if you really enjoyed it. After a week in the music industry, he was bored to death. Okay? He couldn't spend one more day there. He said, oh my God, I was so wrong about my career choices. And then his father had seen that he had a passion for math and a passion for physics and all that. And when he was little, he built Legos a lot and, the typical story of an engineer. So, okay, this next year, we're going to work on getting you an internship in engineering. He's now successfully in his third year at Georgia Tech. Okay? This is a success story. And it's somebody that really had no fit with something. And when he saw what it was really like, he was able to say, yeah, I have no fit with this. Okay? So I want you guys to have, each one of you, to have this experience and try to find those internships. And I'll help you find those internships. I'll guide you through the process. And that's why you need a resume immediately, okay? But I want you guys to have those opportunities, okay? All right. Direct engagement. So with the internships, we have direct engagement. And I have two different assessments that I want to give you. One is available at mymajors.com. And I'll give you the website right now. It's actually eduplan.mymajors.com. And I want you to do this assessment. It's a fun assessment. And it will give you some ideas of types of careers that are available for you. And then there's an assessment that is available in Naviance. So you guys, the two of you, can have it. It's Do What You Are. It's also available online, and I would recommend it. If you're still not sure, I'd be glad to do a third assessment with you, which is an interest inventory. It's about your interest, but it's more of one of those assessments where they tell you, okay, you can be, an engineer or a policeman. Okay, so, that's not as valid. There's another assessment that you can make with a psychologist, and for that I will refer you. It's not a psychological assessment. It's simply an abilities assessment, okay? Where, okay, I'm not sure really what I'm good at, what I have skills for, and how that matches my interest. Okay, that's a very long and thorough assessment, and for that you will need a psychologist. Most students really don't need it at this point, but if you ever need it, I'd be glad to give it to you. All right. So what is not accepted is for you to say, like we said, oh, I have no idea what I want to do. So what do you need to do in order for you to learn what you need to do? You need to start thinking about a career cluster. A career cluster is a collection of jobs and industries which are related, okay? And this is something you want to start thinking about. So the U.S. Department of Labor has 16 clusters, and we'll look at those now. ID, concrete knowledge and skills needed to pursue these types of jobs. And just get some career clusters, help to determine what classes you need, what experiences will be helpful to have in college, and use the tools mentioned previously to help you determine your career cluster. Okay? Jan, read this for me, please. These are the 16 career clusters.
Agriculture, food and natural resources, architecture and construction, arts, audio, video, technology, and communications, business management and administration, educated and training, finance, government and public administration, health science, hospitality and tourism, human services, information technology, law, public safety, corrections and security, manufacturing, marketing, science, technology, engineering and mathematics, transportation, distribution, and logistics.
Okay, great. So if you don't understand any of these, I'd be glad to expand. I mean, some of them, believe it or not, are much better than you think. Like, for example, what do you guys think is transportation, distribution, and logistics?
Shipping.
Shipping? What else? What did you say, Maria? No? You know. You know. That's what your father does. Partially. I have a student now in Hong Kong. He's doing this. He works for LATAM, which is LAN Airlines, okay? And he is opened a new branch of LATAM in Hong Kong, And what they do is logistics and transportation of shipments, import, export, operations. It's the coolest thing in the world, okay? So this is why, these career clusters sometimes are a little dense. So ask me if you think of one of these that could be interesting for you and you don't know. I mean, education and training, for example, you don't have to be a teacher. You can be a principal. You can do training for corporations. You can be an industrial, psychologist, social worker. I mean, there are so many things in training nowadays. There are trainers for CEOs, for example, okay? So all these clusters have a lot of different ramifications, and those you will see in the mymajors.com assessment, okay? All right. Declare a major on the application, so you want to state what you want to study and show why you've selected it. So, when you want to say why you selected a specific major, what is the best way to show interest in that major? Julia. Or Alexa.
Internships.
There you go. Internships. What else?
Also taking classes related to that.
Taking classes related. There you go. What else? Extracurricular activities related. For example, you say, okay, I love world history and world cultures, and I want to study political science or, law or pre-law. Okay, I went to Model United Nations to debate there, for example. That shows interest, direct interest, and not only interest, but also intended effort to understand what you love, all right? So you have to connect those choices to your personal experiences and studies, show you have worked towards your goal. In-demand programs may be more competitive, therefore harder to be accepted for. What is an in-demand program? Let's say mechanical engineering, okay? So I'm going to apply for mechanical engineering at University of Michigan. Mechanical engineering at Mich is tough to get into because that's the auto industry, right? So that's like number one school. I mean, it's not number one for that, but it's one of the top schools for mechanical engineering. So if you want to do automotive engineering, wow, that's really the one place that is going to be hard to get into because of that. So you want to make sure that we strategize about that, and in the schools that, let's say, pre-law is the toughest major to get into, or it's not really a major, but let's say, something related, we don't want to say that that's directly a major. I remember University of Miami, once the admissions director told me that if we were not sure about a student because his GPA or his math grades were not the highest, and they wanted to apply to business or study business, he recommended for the student to apply to economics. Why? Because for business, the GPA and the math grades need to be higher than for economics. Okay, so these kind of things I will help you with because we want to be strategic about it. Okay, you consult the university for information on particular programs. And there are programs that you must directly apply to. So you got to be really careful because this strategy will not work if, for example, you're wanting to apply to biomedical engineering at Johns Hopkins. That biomedical engineering program at Johns Hopkins, you either apply with the application or then you cannot transfer. So let's say that, okay, you did this strategy that you did with me and you said, okay, you're going to study biology and biological engineering instead of biomedical, right? And I'm going to go to Johns Hopkins. And then you say, okay, once I'm in there, I'm going to transfer my major to biomedical engineering. Oh, you can't do that. So you're stuck in a place studying something that was not your intended major originally. So you got to take some risk at some point. Okay. So sometimes you declare a broad major, like liberal arts. And that's a fun major also, and that is conducive to graduate school. So you can go from a liberal arts major to an MBA or law school or pre-med or medical school even, okay? And it's well suited for having a variety of experiences which may not be clearly directly towards a single career goal. So maybe you're not sure what you want to do, but you're very open and you have a lot of skills. So this could be an opportunity, okay? Use the experiences to explain your choice. So let's say like, you know, Bernardo's sisters, he loves many, many things. So she might be able to say, okay, I'm very good at language arts and US in history, and I'm good at sciences. So this is, you know, I had experience in this, and this side. So at this point, I'm applying to such program because it's very broad. Convince admissions committee that you're not unfocused, okay? This is very important. You know about some of your preferences, genuine reflection, through genuine reflection. You can apply undecided, but you have to show that you've worked towards understanding what are your goals. Motivation to select undecided is to give yourself space to explore, okay? Won't have to rise to any specific competitive major requirement. So that's the positive aspect of applying undecided. All right. Double majors and minors we'll talk about later on in our process. And this is something that is definitely an opportunity. So very quickly to let you know, you can have 2 majors in college, and you can have a major and a minor, or you can just have 1 major. Okay, but the important thing about this is that you don't have to choose only 1 major for the rest of your life. Okay? Changing your major is very common, and you do it within your college once you're there. I have to tell you a story. I had a student that I worked with for 4 years, okay, from the very beginning, like you maybe in the freshman year, and we talked about engineering. Engineering, I'm gonna do engineering, and this is what I want to do. Okay, let's do engineering. He did physics, chemistry, everything at prop. He did great. He was a very good student. In the end, he got into Cornell with a great scholarship. He's attending now. And the first day of school, half an hour before his first class, he calls me frantically. Nini, I don't want to study engineering. Like, why? I mean, you've been talking about engineering for 4 years, for all your life for that matter. Why? Well, I don't want to study engineering, I want to study economics. I'm going to change. But you haven't stepped into 1 classroom. You haven't even seen the first half an hour of engineering. How do you know that you don't want me to study engineering? No, I don't want to study engineering. Well, he's now studying economics at Cornell. He's doing great. Actually, he got internships and research opportunities, and he's incredible. And it's a really great fit for him. But, you know, these major changes happen, and they are very easy. But if you're not 100% sure that you want to study something, you want to go to a college that had a lot of major options, okay? Because if they don't, then you are stuck with something, okay? All right. Okay. Internships provide real-world experience in a career. They explore everyday life in a profession, so that's why they're good. They show that you're serious about career exploration and future success. Okay? And it provides evidence of skills and initiatives. So we want to secure internships this summer. Okay? Okay, I'm going to go through this because I know you guys are a bit tired, and at the same time you can read this quickly. We talked about this. Okay. Let's talk about the essay method for writing essays, okay? And as a journalist originally, I remember having to write an article in less than 30 minutes. Doing a timer and saying, okay, you have to write an article now about this topic. And sometimes not really knowing what the topic was about, okay? And so what did I do in order to be an effective writer? So let's talk about the DIGAS method, okay? And that way you can remember it, DIGAS, okay? Say it once.
Yeah.
There you go, okay. So you'll remember. Okay, the first thing is that you're going to deconstruct the question. Okay, you'll have a question. For example, anybody want to give me an essay question? I'll give you actually a college essay question that's going to be there for next year so you can start thinking about it. Okay, it's about something like, tell me an experience that made you go, that supported you, that supported you from childhood, or that's help you transition, okay? Transition. Okay, help you transition from childhood to adulthood. This is an essay question that you guys are going to have to think about, okay? Because this essay question hasn't changed for like 10 years, so it's not going to change this year for sure, okay? Okay, so in this question, how do we divide the question?
Childhood, adulthood.
Uh-huh. There you go. That's one, and that's two. It's two questions in one, okay? So if you answer question one and not question two, you have half the points, okay? If you answer question one, two, and not question one, half the points. You have to answer the experience and how it may help you transition from childhood to adulthood. In other words, how it made you mature, okay, grow as an individual, all right? So that's the D. Deconstruct the question into several short questions. Some questions are tougher than others in terms of deconstructing them. But you want to ensure that you address every aspect of the question. Okay, idea organization. So, okay, so now I have number one. Okay, experience. So when I had to write for 30 minutes, quickly, I made a quick list of the things I could say in the very, in each one of the questions. Okay, so an experience. Let's talk about an internship, a fictitious internship. Okay, this summer I made an internship in engineering, and it was, and then we will talk about the different aspects of the internship in engineering. Okay, what I achieved, what was objective, okay, and then the results, okay, and then I have the number two, which is the mature, okay, or the growth, okay. We're going to talk about how I matured, how I grew from the experience, and so we're going to say, okay, I experienced new things. I had added value, okay? What else? What else would you say? How I changed, maybe, okay? Okay, so now that I have my index of things that I'm going to be able to write about, I'm going to go in each one of these, and I'm going to go from general to specific, okay? So this summer, I was doing an internship at Procter & Gamble. There, I was doing this specifically with XYZ people. Mr. X was my manager, and he helped me do this, this, and that. From general to specific, okay? General to specific. Then, after you're done with the body of the story, you want to create an introduction and a conclusion that have to do with one another, okay? That are in some way connected. So you state the introduction and say what you thought would be, how to introduce the topic and have an attention grabber. And then the conclusion has to have one little word or one little thought that you originally put in the introduction. Something that confirms the introduction but gives something extra, not just say the introduction and state the introduction again, okay? Okay, and the final part of the Digas method is share your inner self, okay? You want to share who you are, because admissions committees are gonna make decisions on admissions regarding what they see that who you are, okay? And this is in general, all right? Okay. You got it? Okay, you'll have the methodology, and I suggest for you guys to use it now that we're going to work on, on SAT, ACT, for any essays. Start using that as a methodology for you to develop better essays. Okay. So I'm gonna show you your agenda for the next few weeks and months, and everything that is in red is because it's are things that are right now pending and are important for now, and the rest is things that can wait a little longer. Okay, so right now it's definitely test time. ACT, SAT, and subject test right now. We have to plan them ahead and make sure that you are able to take them as many times as needed. These are the dates that you have. The subject test, I suggest for all of you to take them in June. And the maximum sittings for the SAT or the ACT should be 4 after 4. There's no reason. The minimum is usually 2. Okay? Register early because the spots get filled out. And be very careful when registering that you don't make any mistakes, because if you do and you get into the day of the test, you might lose the test. Okay? They might not let you in the day of the test, and that would be terrible. Get tutoring. Don't do this alone. Don't attempt to do this alone. Get help. And please try to do 1 full test per week. I know it's very hard. The closer you get to the test, the more important this is. And we've all talked about this a little bit, but this is very important. Leadership. Now is the time. You're going to have the opportunity to get elected for positions April, May, March, some schools, okay? So just be careful, be aware. This is the time to step it up so that they see that you're involved with the school and that you are really pushing to be part of a club. And if they see that, they're going to give you opportunities to be a leader. Complete the 120 hours if you haven't, because that way you'll get it out of the way. You forget about it. If you already have them, great. But I say 120. I know that Florida Bright Futures asked, that's a scholarship, asked for 100, and some schools are now asking for 120. So you want to try as soon as possible to do the 100 hours, no?
Okay.
Oh, sí.
Tiene una cita a las 7.
I'm sorry. Okay. Después le doy. Sí.
Bye. Bye.
Okay. And get involved in your school, because the recommendation letters are going to come from teachers and from your college counselor. And if they see you involved in activities in school, that's going to speak really well about your involvement. Okay, so this is something you definitely want. The grades right now, it's now or never. I mean, next year's grades do count somewhat, but they're not 100% in the admissions process. You want to step it up regarding grades now. Don't be afraid to ask your mothers for tutoring if you need it. The worst that you can do is not get tutoring if you need it. Please get help if you need it, okay? There's no problem in doing that. I'm sure all of your moms will agree to that. Visit colleges. You can start now, as we were talking about. There's no need to spend money. You can stay in the area and go to FIU and see if you like FIU. Go to University of Miami. Maybe one day visit University of Florida with some friends. But try to go during the week, because otherwise, in the weekend, you won't be able to connect with anybody. And part of going to the colleges is connecting with people there, okay? If you go just to see it, you didn't do the full job, okay? You didn't get the job done, because you really want to connect with somebody as much as possible. Have a sample of the schools, okay? Because you're not going to be able to visit all the state schools. So you want to go to one state school, one private school, one small school, one large school, okay? Maybe have a few options to say, okay, now I can understand what I like or dislike, what I'm looking for or not looking for, right? And always connect with somebody. Okay, you're updating your resume by December. We're going to work on that. And please make an appointment as soon as possible in the next couple of weeks or so before the break. Make your summer plans and apply. Also, we're going to discuss it in the appointment so that you can make choices and decisions, and then we can get up to speed with the applications. The applications are coming out in December, so you can get started and ready with that. Start attending college fairs. There's a big college fair in February. It's the Miami National College Fair. It's in the airport, in the Marriott or something at the airport. I'm actually going to be there, so It's really a good college fair, and that way you can talk to people. You want to create a strategy with me on how to go to each booth and talk to people there and get their names and cards and everything. And you want to research before going there, let's say like 20, 25 schools that you're thinking about, and so that you can demonstrate real interest in the school. So it's not just going to, hey, I love, Penn State. Yeah, really, why? Okay, you have nothing to say. No. Oh, hi, nice to meet you. I researched the industrial engineering program and I really enjoyed it. I saw Professor so-and-so doing some research on that. I was wondering, if you can tell me a little bit about that program. Or, oh, I saw that there's a new building for the business school. Can you tell me a little bit about what other things is the business school doing to promote that college or, grow? Okay, things are specific to your interest. Completing the Common App, we're going to start in April to complete the Common App. We're going to start writing essays in April. And we're going to start creating your activity list also in April. If you are super full with the SAT, ACT, grades, APs, all that, we can delay it a little bit. I'm not going to be a Nazi. And, sorry, I'm not going to be like a really crazy strict person with many of you, okay? But I'm definitely going to be wanting to get you up to speed with everything you can do. And if it doesn't happen by mid-June, it will happen after mid-June for sure. So I'm going to want you to be around and available during the summer so that you can get these things out of the way. The sooner the better, okay? So the agenda with us, with EduPlan. It's going to be slow now until April. I'm going to let you study and do the SAT, ACT, all that. We're going to meet once a month. Then it's going to intensify from April to May, and we're going to meet once every 3 weeks or so. Then it's going to be really intense from June and July. It's going to be maybe every week or so. And then very intense from August to November. And there's going to be a time like the first week of August. We're probably going to meet almost every day. Mid-August also until you start class. And then you're going to be ready with most of the work that you need to do. And you're going to thank me. Okay, so the very first applications will be sent in August. Then the first important deadline for us at EduPlan that you cannot miss is October 1st, where we're going to finish several of the applications, if you haven't already, and send them for sure, like University of Florida, Georgia Tech, UNC Chapel Hill. Those are due on October 15th, not University of Florida, but the other two. And there are other schools as well, FSU. So we want to send those applications by October 1st at the latest, okay? And then we're going to have a second very important deadline, which is actually coming up for my seniors. And it's going to be December 1st when everything needs to be ready. All essays, everything, anything pending has to be ready by December 1st because we send the very last applications up to December 10th. If you have any pending. I have a student, for example, now only submitting applications to scholarships, honors programs, doing interviews because he completed everything really early. I have a few students like that actually. So you want to be in that situation, okay? Okay. So next step, research colleges. Start researching with the tools I gave you. Do your introspection. Start asking yourself those tough questions. Go to eduplan.mymajors.com, the assessment, and do that. That's going to take you 15, 20 minutes at the most, and it's really fun, and I can see it, okay? And talk with you about it. Then craft your preliminary list of colleges, and then review your junior agenda and schedule a meeting at meet.eduplan.us to plan the next steps for you, okay? You know you can always schedule a meeting with me at this website, okay? And also, you want to make sure to, if you think you need more than 30 minutes, which most of you are going to need, just let me know and I'll make the meeting a little longer, okay? Maybe 45 or 50 or 60 minutes. All right? Any questions? I'm sorry it took a few more minutes, but You guys are gonna do great. It's gonna be a great year, and you are doing things great because you're early. So everything is good, okay? All right. Okay, dismissed, I guess.